Damn it. Can't believe Stephen Avery isn't dead. I just don't get it. You know, you rape, murder, kill like 14,000 people, and you don't die. Like what's up? It must be, our liberal, cucked government preventing us from dealing with these murderers the way we ought to, you know? Oh, let's just disregard the fact that I'm actually related to him. And I found some intellectual material here for us to digest on the topic of the death penalty. So let's get in.
Punishment.
As strongly as I feel about any issue, I understand
This
the
one's from
opposition.
Daddy Prager.
But there is an exception, the death penalty for murder. Here, the gulf is unbridgeable between those of us who believe that some murderers, and I emphasize some murderers, should be put to death, and those who believe that no murderer should ever be put to death. Take this example. On the afternoon...
Wait, so like, getting what he believes clear here, he thinks that some murderers should be put to death. But then he also believes that the opposition believes that no murder should be put to death. Which I guess is true. I mean, I don't think the government should have the authority to kill somebody because mistakes happen. Even, like, there have been cases where DNA has exonerated people who have been killed by the state. Now, there are some times where, like, you can have 100%, lock shut case, it's the guy, we can kill him or whatever. Personally, I don't want the government to have authority to kill people regardless of what they've done. Like, the criminal justice system in America is so bad as it is already. You kind of have to wonder, how have we contributed towards these murders being created in our society? Because it's not like some guy just wakes up in the morning and he wants to kill people. I mean, not everybody's fucking like BTK or fucking, the what's that killer in California they never caught? There was that cool movie about it, but it's not something I'm comfortable the government handing out to people regardless of, how evil they are. But let's see what Prager has to say.
Of July 23rd, 2007, in the town of Cheshire, Connecticut.
Oh, he's gonna scare us with a story. Yep, it's like a murder rape story, and he's gonna be like, "And you don't think this guy deserves to be killed? What's wrong with you?"
Nearly to death with a baseball bat. One of the men raped the doctor's wife.
Hell
and the other
yeah!
man sexually assaulted their 11-year-old daughter, Michaela.
Ooh, Jeffrey Epstein. Ooh, you shouldn't have done that, and that's why you ended up committing suicide. 2 bullets back of the head.
Doused them with gasoline, and while the girls were still alive, set the house on fire. Dr. Pettit survived, but his wife and daughter.
This is actually Prager's
Those opposed to
fan
capital
fiction
punishment believe that these two men have a right
for
to
his
keep
own
their
life.
lives. So, is there anything a person can do to deserve the death penalty? To those opposed to capital punishment,
yes,
the answer
but
is no.
Wait, why did
many opponents of capital
why did he phrase it like that? To those opposed to capital punishment, no.
punishment, the answer is no. In fact, many opponents of capital punishment believe that killing murderers is the same as murder.
Okay, no, see that you're equivocating terms here incorrectly. Nobody believes that it's murder because murder is a legal term for the degree of like killing or the degree of involvement you have in killing somebody. If you like hit somebody with your car, it's like unintentional manslaughter if they die or whatever, Like murder is like cold-blooded, premeditated. It's a different charge legally than manslaughter. So I don't, and like, like it would be murder then because the state is premeditating killing somebody based on some prior action. So it is, like, even though you've tried to, like, set up this dichotomy that, like, you're gonna think that it's not murder because we're saving the world from a bad person, but, like, it's premeditated killing. That's generally what I believe murder is legally defined as, so, yeah.
You heard me right. Most opponents equate the murder of an innocent family with putting the murderers of that family to death.
Okay, nobody
Opponents of
equates
capital
that.
punishment
Nobody
also
thinks
argue
that somebody who kills
that
a
keeping
family
all murderers alive
and then the state having the
sanctifies the value
what?
of human life. But
Nobody
the
thinks
opposite
that
is
either.
true. Keeping every murderer alive cheapens human life because it builds.
Okay, okay. I have to stop and talk about political science. So in my political science class, we read about different kinds of things, and one of the things we read about is retribution, revenge, and punishment. Basically, how the government or the communal body deals with people who transgress social norms such that they require some kind of intervention. Locke, I believe, or was it Hobbes? I don't know, one of the two guys, they have a pretty good book on the matter. And essentially, it says that the person who is most harmed should be the one to determine if a charge should be made. Uh, they don't have to tell somebody that they need to be punished. I mean, that's why in assault cases, it's up to the person who's been assaulted to push for the charge, not the person, not like the state just does it for you. It's up to the victim. That's something that we incorporate in our legal system. Another aspect to it is that a punishment should never exceed the harm done. You shouldn't harm somebody more than they harmed others, except such that to take recoup losses. So, for example, if you have somebody who steals from a store, then you would have the person, you take money from them and give it back to the store owner to make up for their loss, and then maybe a slight fine, but you don't want to punish somebody such that like they're literally cast out of society. Now, in political science, we don't end up talking about this because political theory and philosophy don't really deal with reality too much, unfortunately. And one of the realities is that every person in prison is going to get out. Like 99% of them are going to get out of prison. We can't treat people like shit. You can't just like kill all the bad people. I feel like that's what Prager wants to do. He wants to kill all the bad people. I mean, look at him right now. He looks like he's about to feast on a bad guy's corpse right now.
Little's murder. That's easily proven. Imagine that the punishment for murder were the same as the punishment for driving over the speed limit.
What?
Wouldn't that belittle murder and thereby cheapen human life?
Wait, so his. I'm sorry. I've had a little bit to drink, but let me try to figure this out. He says that if we don't kill murderers, that cheapens murder because basically they're keeping their lives. There is a capitalistic or like a capitalist gain potentially for leaving murderers alive because they can still potentially make money for the economy, and at the very least they're consuming at the state's detriment. But if they're consuming, then they're benefiting capitalism. So it doesn't really matter that they're kept alive in terms of the capitalistic sense, which is one that really matters for Republicans. Another thing here, though, is that he's trying to say that if we don't kill the murderers, that cheapens murder. And then he's like saying if we did the opposite, if we overreacted, if we killed people for speeding, wouldn't that cheapen murder too? I think is what he's saying. Or if we saying ticket, murder, fine, $75, stabbing, or if we treated it like, oh, he's saying if we treated it like speeding, then it would cheapen murder. Which yeah, but we don't. Like this is like not a reality that will ever happen. We're never gonna let somebody, except for that one kid who had the affluenza shit. But like we're never gonna let somebody pay their way out of a charge. Like and this is where Prager is showing that he doesn't understand how the legal system works because he's probably never even had to interact with it. The reason you get a speeding ticket uh, is it's what is it? There's when something is decriminalized, you can do it, but you can pay to get out of it, like a speeding ticket. It's not illegal, but it's a criminal action or something like that or whatever. So essentially, is when something's decriminalized, it doesn't mean that it's like legal for you to do. Essentially, it just means that if you get caught doing, you have to pay a fine. That's all it means. So like speeding is decriminalized. You don't go to jail for it unless you're like super drunk and shit like that. And like here he's saying like, oh, if we decriminalize murder, wouldn't that be bad? And it's like, well, obviously, like, what do you? This is like such an obvious like, oh, are you keeping up with this? Because I've had a little to drink. I'm kind of hard for me, but let's go on.
Of course it would. Society teaches how bad an action is by the punishment it metes out.
There's really no
Not
situation in
entirely.
which I can imagine capital punishment being the true, right, rational response to
I
a crime.
mean, there's more to justice than just punishment. I mean, obviously, in PragerU's world, I think he's a hardline Catholic. He only views his punishment as the absolute method of social control. But there's more than just punishment. There's ostracizing people from society. There's, having somebody, indebted. It's a phrase that we use a lot in America as people who go to prison are paying their debt to society. So to view the criminal justice system or justice in general as only the burden the crime doer has to take on is like what a toddler believes justice is, and justice is more complex than just punishment. It has to do with a whole bunch of other things.
Civilized country, we should be able to punish people in a way that's comparable for those crimes that does not involve ending their life.
A number of people that have been on death row executed, and now it turns out that they're innocent.
And what about opponents' argument that an innocent...
Wait, why did they put that guy in there? That guy completely destroys their argument. Like, why would you ever want the state to accidentally kill an innocent man? Like, how can you ever argue for that?
innocent person may be executed?
Okay, I'm really excited for this. He's gonna fucking address the fucking elephant in the room. I can't wait to see how Daddy Prager is gonna solve this conundrum.
This argument may be sincerely held, but it's not honest. Why? Because opponents of capital punishment oppose...
Okay, in logic, I have a spoiler for you. It does not matter if the speaker is honest. This is what is referred to as an ad hominem. Rather than attacking the logic of the argument, you say that the person speaking is a liar, which at the very most would only imply the opposite of what the speaker is saying. But if an argument is sound, then the opposite is generally sound too. So calling somebody a liar doesn't even sway the argument one way or the other. It just makes you look like a literal invalid. But he's not done speaking, so let's see.
The death penalty, even when there is absolute proof of the murderer's guilt.
Wait. You started off by addressing the fact that there are people who might get killed accidentally, and then you're saying that that's not honest and that just it's not gonna happen? Like, what?
If there were a video of a man burning a family...
How does this address the question? This doesn't address the question.
Capital punishment would still oppose taking that man's life. Moreover, by keeping every murderer alive...
What? You didn't answer the question.
Murdered. Other prisoners...
Okay. No, this one actually makes me mad. Please, for the love of God, never believe this. Don't buy into PragerU's bullshit, but never for the life of you should you ever believe that keeping a murderer alive means more people are going to be murdered. For the love of God, never fucking believe that. The recidivism rate for people coming out of prison is like less than half. Less than half. And now, mind you, America has some of like the shittiest prisons, or the shittiest rehabilitation system. And honestly, people who come out of prison probably have some of the hardest lives forward trying to make their lives fucking work again. Even people coming out of jail for a year. Spending a year in jail can ruin your life, can set you back fucking decades. It is fucking horrible. Because your apartment gets fucking... You lose your lease. You get kicked out of your apartment. Your shit gets fucking like just taken out and thrown in the dumpster. Your vehicle gets fucking impounded. Like, you're totally fucked. And they're probably going to damage your vehicle on the way in because they don't give a fuck about you. They just don't care. But like, for the love of God, don't believe that if you keep some person who has murdered somebody alive, that as soon as they get out, they're just a murderer. That's their trait and they're going to kill people. That's not true. No fucking data proves this. This is completely falsifiable and complete bullshit. And this guy, somebody should murder this guy. I'm not advocating that anybody hurts anybody. I'm just saying that if you're going to espouse bullshit that literally like ruins our political climate, and I mean, like, look, oh, this video doesn't have that many views, but it's pretty new. It's pretty new. Give it a year's time, it might go viral. But I mean, you're literally arguing for bullshit. The data doesn't support this.
guards and people outside of prison in case of
Murderers
escape.
don't just kill people in prison willy-nilly. It's not a character trait. Most murder is something, especially when it's premeditated, has an emotional component. Like, I've talked to people who've murdered people. Like, yeah, it's context, it's environment. It's not a character trait. Fuck you.
For early release than the infinitesimally small number of people who might be wrongly executed.
Wait a minute. So he's just saying. So PragerU's argument about the government accidentally killing innocent people is that more people would die if we don't kill them. So we have to accept the loss of a few innocents to protect other people from the remaining murderers. Yeah, I still don't want the government to have the right to kill people. That's something I will never feel comfortable with. And that argument is not good.
And now with DNA testing and
Okay.
other advanced...
DNA is not 100% foolproof. If you've read up anything about DNA testing, DNA can easily match other people, and DNA can be manipulated to a fucking layman, dumbass, fucking court jury that can end up agreeing with something that isn't even true. So, no, DNA is not 100%, and it has been used manipulatively. A lot of the initial DNA testing that was used was faulty. And then when they retested people's DNA, decades later or whatever, it turns out like, oh, that it wasn't actually a match. The way we tested it earlier was wrong, So, fuck off.
advanced forensic tools, it is virtually
Is this guy
impossible
been to
to execute an innocent
college?
person.
Virtually impossible to execute? No, it's not. You don't know anything. Like, have you been? All you have to do is take. Dude, has this guy been to college? Like, he's so
Believe
fucking
that the
stupid.
torturers, rapists, murderers of Dr. William Pettit's wife and daughters,
Oh man.
and evil men like them deserve
Evil,
to keep their
evil
lives.
men.
If you're
Evil
like
men.
most
Yup.
people,
You
your answer
believe
is
their
no.
traits.
Your heart, your mind, your whole being cries out for some justice and fairness in this world.
Yeah, I want
But
some
if
justice
you
and
really
fairness
do
all
believe
inside
these
your
people
face.
deserve to keep their lives,
I don't think you
well,
deserve to keep
as
your
I
life,
said at the
honestly,
outset,
Dennis Prager. I think you're kind of
I
evil.
don't
Actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure BTK killer, bind, torture, killer, BTK. His first name was Dennis Rader, which is really eerily close to Dennis Prager. So, my argument is that Dennis Prager is the reincarnation of Dennis Rader, and he's here to bind us with his propaganda, to torture us with his rhetoric, and to kill us with his logic. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, that was it. That was the end of it. Okay, excellent. A+.